Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What on earth are they, I hear you ask? Well, my friend Lucy and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, the ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So if you're ready, here we go.
Just so that everybody knows, this morning really was. I messaged you at, I think it was like 7:35 this morning, saying any ideas what we're going to talk about. I have a complete. I've drawn a blank. And then anyway, we ended up deciding on our topic this morning, which is letting go, because it's something that you were wanting to do the other week, and then for whatever reason we didn't do it.
Yes, because I'm reading a book. Well, I'm listening to a book which someone recommended me called Letting Go by someone called Dave Hawkins. I haven't finished it. I'm only halfway through it. But essentially, the premise of the book is how when we let go of it starts where I'm at anyway in the book. I'm sure it will probably go on to other things, but it's really letting go of unhelpful feelings, unhelpful beliefs, those things which that conditioning which we have built up layers upon layers throughout our lives, and which determine our actions and our the things that we do. When we can let go of those things, those thoughts, those unhelpful beliefs, then actually we're free, and we're free to just be us and to be ourselves and to shine and live a life of freedom rather than having the constant doubts, the fears. And it does sound amazing, and it does, everyone's probably going, oh my God, but how the hell do you do that? But I think it's just, he was just saying in the book, I was just by knowing this stuff is a step forward towards letting go of it. Just becoming aware of some of those unhelpful beliefs which are stopping you can actually help you, and then just let go of them can help you move forward. We all carry so much fear around with us. Fear of, for example, you and me. In the past, turning up and doing something like this, speaking live on Instagram with not really any plans about what I'm going to say, would have just made me feel paralyzed with fear. I just wouldn't have been able to do it. But actually, it's a really good example. I've just let go of the fear of what other people are going to think. I've let go of the fear that I have nothing to say, although sometimes I do still, it's there, but it's just like, it's kind of, when you let go of that fear, you then just build in that feeling of trust that actually you can do it. And I also think, a big part of this whole letting go is it's just about feelings. It's really just letting go of those feelings that we all have. And it's just letting them be there, feel those feelings, and then just letting them go. The problem is so many of us just don't allow ourselves to feel those feelings properly, so that they just stuck in our bodies, bubbling up. And then they just get worse and worse and worse. And, that anxiety and everything builds up. So we've got to find ways of letting them go, processing them, and then we can gradually become freer.
Yeah,
so that makes some sort of sense.
No, it makes complete sense. And just going back to what you were saying about this Instagram live is a really good example of that, because I've realized, just as you were saying that, I realized that finally, because we've been doing this, is it almost a year?
I don't know if it's as long as that.
Maybe it's 6 months, I don't know. But quite a while anyway. And I realized, just as you were talking about that I have started to almost forget that we're live, and it just goes to show how when you keep doing the things and you keep just letting go of what other people are going to think, and you just let go of that worry, then it does give you freedom to just show up and bloody do it. And like this morning, genuinely, I still do not have a clue what I'm actually going to say on this live about this subject. I like literally don't. But like you said, you get to a point where when you let go of those, you know, beliefs that you don't have anything to say, or beliefs that you're going to look like a dick, or blah, blah, blah. When you let go of that, you just think, well, fuck it. I'm just kind of showing up and having a conversation with a friend. But going back to our topic of letting go, one thing I'll just want to add is that when I think of letting go, I also think of letting go of control and letting go of the need and the want to control other people, and just realizing that the only goddamn thing we can control is what we think and how we respond to things. That's it. And when you kind of let go of that feeling of control, it, whilst it feels scary, it's actually really empowering, because then all you've got to focus on is you and how you're reacting to things. When you realize that you don't have control over anything apart from, again, your thoughts and what you think and how you act, when you just let that need to control others go, it is freeing. And the other thing I wanted to say is that when I think of letting go too, I think of the little little situational things that happen in everyday life. So, you know, and I used to be a lot worse at this than I am now, and that is down to the inner work. I hate to say it, but it's true. So it used to be that, you know, say something happened on the way to work, like, I don't know, or something happened in the car where somebody really pissed me off, or something, you know, I had a conversation at work that really upset me, or whatever it is. I think one of the biggest things that we need to let go of is those little things that happen in the day that so often we just hold onto them all fucking day. You know, somebody says something to you that's offensive or triggers you, and you hold on to it. And then you get home and you're like, oh my God, I've been thinking about this all freaking day. And it's insanity, because it doesn't do us any good. The person who has made us, you know, feel like that has absolutely no idea that we're still thinking about it, and still kind of, you know, it's that feeling of when you're sort of stewing on something. You just kind of stew and ruminate on something bad that happened, even if it's only a tiny thing. And that is the kind of thing I think we really need to just be really aware of when we're doing it, and yeah, just let it freaking go. And I do think that, I know it's not so easy, but in some ways it is, because so many things, actually, it's a question of making a decision. It's a question of, first of all, raising your own awareness of how you are and how you can be. And then second of all, making a decision that you're going to change it. And again, I'm not saying it's easy. It can be bloody hard work, and it is hard work, because it requires constant vigilance of your thoughts and how you're feeling and what you're doing and how you're behaving and how you're reacting and responding to things. But that's what it requires. That's what we need to do. And letting go of those little things, it makes such a difference, because when you hold on to those tiny, silly little things that happen during the day, but, you know, just something that really pisses you off, and then you end up, you know, rather than telling every single person that you come into contact with that day, rather than, you know, don't go around and tell every single person about that annoying thing that happened to you this morning, because you're just perpetuating the problem, and actually the only person you're making feel shit is yourself. So yeah, we gotta let it go.
Yeah, I mean, it's making me think of all those stories that we attach to
Yeah,
those things. So if, you know, for years and years and years, as a child, I used to go bright red. If anyone would talk to me who I didn't know, I was so shy, and just would get so embarrassed so easily. And I used to hate it, because it's one of those awful things that when you go bright red, everyone goes, "Oh, look, she's going red," and I'd go more and more
the
red.
worst.
So I just had this identity of, I'm this really shy person who goes red when anyone talks to me. And it was like a real affliction. I hated it so much, but that was sort of my identity. And it was only, and it's kind of followed me throughout my whole life. And it kind of lessened as I kind of became more of an adult. But I only let go of it when actually I was doing EFT training, and I kind of just raised it, and I was just like, this is something I want to let go of now. And it was just really just about bringing my attention to the feelings that came up around that feeling of, it was always a feeling of complete just wanting to be hidden, wanting, it was almost like a shield.
Mm.
And I'm not joking, it was unbelievable. The moment I sort of felt and realized what that was masking, and I let go of those feelings of not wanting anyone to see me and knowing that actually I was kind of almost like knowing that I was okay to be seen and reprogramming that into my mind. I haven't honestly, I haven't flushed since that moment, in the way that I used to do. But also, I've just let go of the story that I'm a shy person as well. I'm actually like, do you know what? That was me then. That was that little girl, and now as an adult, I'm I don't have that identity anymore. So it was a really conscious decision to
Mm.
let go of that. And I think that is the big thing here. We can It's the stories that we constantly attach to everything which we believe is the truth. But actually it's not the truth. I wasn't born that kind of shy girl. Maybe I had a tendency towards it, but actually I can change it, I can shift it, I can actually be whoever I want to be. And it's the feelings that it gives you. So actually, if that feeling of shyness and it comes up now, which occasionally it creeps up on me, I just have to I'm aware of it now. So it's actually almost saying to myself, no, I'm not. I'm actually I'm a confident woman, and I'm going to just let that go. So yeah, it is, you have to be very, very intentional, I think, about the way you want to feel and be aware of those feelings when they do crop up. Let them be there, feel them, let them come through. And then, yeah, you've got to move on through them and let them go.
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very wise words. Speaking of the going red thing, weird. It's so weird because that actually, well, apart from my menopausal hot flushes, I've actually started, I feel like I developed blushing in my later life, which is so weird. And it is the worst thing. But I think when you, like you were saying, you sort of let go of the story that you are shy and therefore you go red. And for me, it's the same. It's like letting go of the story that, oh, every time I feel slightly uncomfortable or I feel slightly embarrassed or I feel slightly this. Because as soon as if you hold on to that instead of letting it go, then it's going to happen. But also going back to my menopausal hot flushes, which actually at the moment are not too bad. I think that's probably partly because it's winter and it's cold. But having said that, they happen randomly anyway. It doesn't matter what the temperature is. But when I used to get them really badly in the coffee shop where I work, it was, for a while, it became a bit of a nightmare. And I would literally end up standing at the till and I would feel a hot flush coming on, and it would just, I could feel the heat just rising up my whole body and up through my face, and then I could just feel the sweat just breaking out of my face, like really obviously. And then I got to a point where I was like, what am I going to do about this? So I literally would say to customers, don't worry about this. It's just menopause. Sorry, just excuse it. It'll go. And so it's kind of like anything, I suppose. It's when you sort of own it, then it's less embarrassing. But one thing about letting things go, actually, that sort of springs to mind is that when you really think about it, everything, or so many things that we need to let go, revolve around the worry around what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
And I feel like not everything, massive generalization, but so much in life comes down. If we think about the things that we're scared of or the things that cause us anxiety, so many of those things are actually because we are worried about what other people are going to think. So I would say if there is one thing that we all need to let go of, it's that. the worrying about what other people think. How you do that is not easy, but I think to just ask yourself, like, why am I so worried? And then I think you have to kind of pan out to the sort of bigger picture of like the 8 billion people in the world, and the fact that, this universe has existed for thousands and thousands of years, and people are born and then they die, and then a load of new people are born and then they die, and ultimately we're not here for that long, and we're not going to be here forever. And at some point we're going to, without sounding really sort of maudlin, we're going to be in the ground if we get buried. But when you think about it in those terms, it just seems a bit ridiculous, because you really think, well, why does this matter? Why am I worrying about what these people think or what this person thinks? Why do I care? It's not so long before it's just not going to matter.
Yeah.
So if we live our lives without worrying.
Yeah, you really make me think about, was it last year? It was relatively recently. Yeah. Giles and I were going to a 60th birthday party. It was Giles's colleague, and there was a fancy dress theme. Well, the dress theme was national dress, and he's Scottish, his wife is Austrian. And anyway, long story short, Giles had this idea that because we were English, and he was kind of, Giles's colleague was making a joke about, oh, good luck, you English, as in we have no national dress. Giles thought it'd be hilarious that we went as in 1980s styled shell suits, really disgusting matching shell suits. And I was like, are you sure this is the right kind of thing we should be wearing? Is it not a bit more, is this right? And Giles was like, no, this is perfect. This is perfect. Giles had to stand up and be quizmaster anyway and do something. So he was kind of like, I was like, if he's comfortable with this, then okay, it's going to be okay. Anyway, we arrived at the party. So I was in full on shiny tracksuit, like looking revolting, as was he. And we arrived at the party, and I suddenly looked around and realised everybody was in pretty much evening wear. So there were people obviously in kilts, but like smart kilts. There were a couple of sort of Austrian style dresses, but we were pretty much the only two in fancy dress. And as we were walking in, I was like, Giles, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. And he just said to me, Polly, we're here now. Just own it. Shoulders back, head up, own it. And I was like, well, that's all I've got to do. So I did exactly that. Just had to completely own what I was wearing and let go of what everyone was going to think about it, because we looked ridiculous. And in fact, we had the best night. Because I think because we had to own it, we had to just kind of get on with it. Everyone thought it was brilliant. We probably spoke to more people, met more people than we would have done. I didn't know anybody there, really, and had a really, really fun evening. And I was so proud of myself that I completely managed to let go of what everyone was thinking. Don't get me wrong, I was relieved to go and take it off at the end of the night. But, it just goes to show that, it really doesn't matter. It does not matter. It's only us. We are just the only people kind of giving ourselves our own limitations. And really, it just made people laugh and smile, and just thought it was hilarious, particularly when I was sitting on one side to some amazing sort of heart surgeon, suited and booted, and I don't know, it was just hilarious. And there I was in my shiny tracksuit. But
oh my God.
It is possible. It's just a complete change in your state of mind.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that I love that story, by the way. That's hilarious. And also I hate fancy dress at the best of times. I know you love it.
I love fancy dress.
Yeah. You and I are the polar opposite in that respect. I just cannot bear fancy dress. I'm like, no. I don't know what that says about me. It probably says something not good about me, I think.
I think so.
But anyway, I was going to say that when we hold on to things, actually what we're doing is we're expending so much of our energy on shit that just is a waste of time. It's like, we don't want to be putting all our energy into holding on to stuff that we shouldn't be holding on to. We want to reserve our energy for the good stuff and for feeling good and for raising our vibration and all of that. And actually, when you think about it, and especially when you're holding on to something that, something long term, like say,
resentment.
Exactly. How, I mean, I'm asking you now, but how would you say, let go of the kind of long-term things like resentment or anger or whatever it is? Like, I wonder, because I'm falling completely short of any sort of tips. I wonder, you're much more
I mean, gosh, I'm no expert by any means, but what I would say from what I do understand is that when we hold on to anger, resentment, all those low vibrational feelings, they're going to it's stuck within your body. It's literally at a cellular level. We're holding on to it. And so it's about I would really find some somatic practices which are going to just really help release it. Because when we've got those stuck heavy emotions within our body, the energy isn't flowing through us. We literally is become stuck within us. So we've just got to find practices, I mean, I'm going to say obviously breath work because that's what I know, but there are so many other practices like EFT, tapping, acupuncture, which is going to help that energy to start moving that sort of those held feelings into your body, and we've got to get them released. And so that's why, people, if you do a longer meditation or breathwork session, or not even long, actually, you can do short ones. Sometimes those feelings bubble up, and you might have a real kind of explosion of anger or whatever it is. It just needs to be released, and then you can move forward. But there are so many different somatic type practices out there these days. It's about,
there's a massive great thumbs up that just appeared on the screen. That was so weird.
So I think, you can just see it in breathwork, the amount of people I've breathed in terms of emotions which bubble up, and they come really, everyone's like, I don't know where that came from. It was almost like a wave of emotion which has just come out. And that's just the energy moving through you from something past. And the thing is, with those type of practices, you don't need to attach a story to it. It's just letting that emotion, letting that energy flow out, so that then, you've got the energy moving through you in a much more healthy, flowy kind of way. So I think that, it's about just being ready to release, being ready to let go of those things. And I think, a lot of the issue is, if you've got a lot of resentment, for example, in you for something which has been ongoing, those stories often are just going round and round and round again. So you've got to just make a decision that you are ready to let go of those stories. It's that forgiveness piece, isn't it? It's like, once you can let go and you can start to forgive, you become free of it, and you're only damaging yourself by holding on to it. And although you've got this anger at often something else or a situation, or you're really sort of feeling sorry for yourself, you're in that kind of cycle. So I think it's just, you've got to become aware and then find practice which releases it from your body. And I just think the problem is, when we just do everything from the mind, so you go and talk therapy, I think has its place, but the problem is, I think often you're still attaching a story to the issue, whereas actually, if you get into the body, out of the mind and into the body, then you can actually release a lot of that energy. That's what I say. I don't know if that, I personally haven't had anything deep-rooted resentment like that to let go of. But I think, I've read of people who have, and they've managed to do it that way.
Funny enough, when you were just talking about forgiveness, and this is a topic that we could do, forgiveness, but I've just finished reading a book called The Bridge by Donna Lancaster, which we did in my Thrive Solo membership book club. It's been our book for the last 2 months, and she talks about how one of the things that we can do, one of the sort of practices that she recommends is, if you are never going to get an apology from somebody that you need an apology, like let's say you're either just never going to get it, or they're actually no longer here. One of the things that she suggests doing is actually writing a letter from them to you. saying everything that you need to hear from them. And that can be a way of letting something go. I mean, the one thing that springs to mind for me personally is a friendship, or not a no longer friendship in my life, that was someone who's been my quote unquote friend for more than 30 years, and we haven't now spoken for nearly 2 years. And, you know, it's not something that I let affect me, and I know that my life is better without this person in it, for reasons which I won't bore you with. But I think one thing about forgiveness and, you know, letting go is that it's not about them, it's about you do it for you don't do it for them, and it doesn't let them off the hook. You're doing it to release yourself. And I do think that if anyone's in this kind of, in fact, the Bridge by Donna Lancaster, it's a great book. I mean, it's very, you know, it's pretty full on, but it's actually, ironically, given that it's very sort of heavy, it's actually quite easy reading the way she writes it. It's quite sort of light and easy to read, and she has lots of practices, and it's basically all about sort of trauma and, you know, inner child healing and all of that kind of stuff. It's really, really interesting, and I learned a lot from it, actually. But that is one of the things that resonated with me, was writing a letter from the person who hurt you, so that you yourself can let it go. And it doesn't, you know, it doesn't, because sometimes we hold on to things that are never going to get resolved. You know, there might have, whatever it is, you know, obviously we're talking largely about relationships here, but sometimes we know that, you know, we're never going to get what we need, and we're never going to get that sort of resolution that we need. So we have to give it to ourselves, because otherwise we are holding on to it. And like you say, the only person that's hurting is us. And it's not good for us. Like, health-wise, it's not good for us to hold on to these things. One other thing that I just wanted to say, actually, before we finish, that half an hour really quickly, ironically, given that I didn't know what the hell we were going to talk about. But one other thing that is something that you can do, is to do like a visualization during a meditation, where you literally sort of visualize yourself letting the thing go that you want to go. That can be quite effective.
Cutting cords as well between you and another person is another really effective way of just visualizing yourself cutting the bonds, the cords of, you know, of energy, which is attaching yourself to somebody else as well, is really effective as well. Really just, letting them go, literally, within that, you know, because if we kind of hold on to things, don't we, within our sort of energy field. So actually, if we can sever those ties and call in our energy, our own energy, back to ourselves, then it's easier to let them go. Does that make sense?
No, it completely makes sense. It reminded me of another practice that I've heard people say before. When you're trying to, this isn't to do with letting go, but just off on a tangent, when you're trying to protect your own energy field, you can do this thing where you literally zip, like, people who are listening to this on the podcast won't be able to see, but where you literally sort of zip. Have you heard this, Polly, where you kind of zip up? It's like an imaginary zip that you physically pull up over yourself to kind of protect yourself in your own sort of protected, zipped up bubble. Anyway, it just reminded me then.
Well, I'll tell you what I do, which is, I saw Nicola was on here, which Nicola gave me a tip a while back, which is about preserving your energy. And I do this sometimes, particularly before I go out the front door. If you're quite a sensitive person and feel like you pick up other people's energies, which I do sometimes, I feel, you know, so actually I put on an imaginary cloak. It's almost like Harry Potter's invisibility cloak. I put on this imaginary cloak, but with a really big hood, and I wrap it all around me, and it literally physically do it, wrap it all around me, and it's almost like a safety cloak, which just kind of keeps it's very similar to you, keeps my energy in. Some people do bubbles and put the bubbles around them, but yes, it's a really effective way to just keep what is yours, and so you're not kind of pulling in on everybody's energy. Because when we're, and particularly with relationships, and particularly with relationships which aren't as healthy, or aren't, you know, aren't giving you what, you know, just making you feel a bit shit really about life, then actually it's really just very helpful to just recognize where your energy is and keeping that to yourself, and where theirs is, and just because often it gets quite built up together, doesn't it? But we just let that go.
Totally. Well, it's 9:32. We
It's
have
not
done
true.
our half an hour.
Yeah. Well, there you go. We managed to talk. We managed to waffle on about something.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Lovely to see you, and see you next week. God
see you
knows
next week.
about then.
Thanks everybody for joining us. If you've
Yeah,
rejoined us,
lots of love.
take care. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.